Take.
Hey learners, hope you are safe. I'm happy to join you once again. This is Teacher Alex. For those who we've not met yet, today we are going to have our math session, and in this math session today we are going to talk about the topic fractions, that is class 5 maths, fractions, and we will look at addition of fractions. You were taught when you were in class 5, currently being called grade, even you are in grade 4, we used to call it class 4. You are taught on basic concepts about fractions. Here we are now talking about addition of fractions. We want to know how do I add a fraction to another fraction. I will start with addition of a fraction by a fraction. For example, I'm going to take a fraction such as a half. I will take a half, I add on to a half. I'm adding a fraction whose denominator is the same. This is addition of a half by a half. The denominators are the same. So in this case, my denominator will remain the same. Same concept that we were taught in class 4. So whereby I will only deal with, I will put this line, then I will deal with the denominator. If the denominator is 2, and because the denominators are the same, then my denominator here will be 2. And then I only add the numerators. I add the numerators. I'm doing this because the denominators are the same. If the denominators are the same, then I will use it here as my LCM. So the denominator will be 2. Then I add the numerator, which is 1 plus 1. That is the basic mathematics that we started with. 1 plus 1 will give me 2. If I'm going to get 2 over 2, 2 over 2 is the same as a whole, which is 1. So my answer is going to be 1. Because 2 over 2 is the same as a whole, which is 1. So anytime you are given a fraction whose denominators are the same, if you are given a fraction whose denominators are the same, you use the denominator to be the same and then you add the numerator. That means if I'm given a third plus a third, if I'm given a third plus a third, then my denominator will remain to be 3. My denominator will remain to be 3. So this means I'm going to have my denominator as 3. My denominator will remain to be 3, and then I add the numerators. The numerators are the numbers at the top. So this means I will now add 1 plus 1. 1 plus 1, which is going to give me 2. So this means I'm going to get my answer as 2/3. This is simple. It is different from this because we added the numerators and the denominator were the same. The numerator and the denominator were the same, which means it becomes a whole. But this one, because the numerator is smaller than the denominator, it is a proper fraction. It remains to be 2/3. Now, a question comes in when you are given a fraction that whose denominators are different. If you are given a fraction whose denominators are different, allow me split my board, and then we now check the fractions whose denominators are different. If I'm given now, for example, a half plus a third. If I'm given a half plus a third. Now, this is where maths becomes simple and sweet. We already have the concept of LCM because the denominators are different. Now, we are to look for the LCM of the denominators, which are 2 and 3. And the question is, what is LCM? LCM is the least common multiple. So we look for the least common multiple of 2 and 3. The least common multiple. So any fraction that will be given, you will look for the least common multiple of the denominators. So in this case, our denominators are 2 and 3. So we look for the least common multiple of 2 and 3. And how do we find that? Let's try this. How do we find that? This way we are reminding ourselves of the concepts that we already acquired. So we are going to look for the least common multiple of 2 and 3. So we look for a number, the smallest number that can divide any of these numbers. And because our numbers are 2 and 3, so the smallest number that we will use is 2. We will start with 2. 2 can divide 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So I write my 1 here. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 3 divided by 2 is impossible. So I will write that 3 here. Why am I saying it's impossible? Because 2, when I divide 3 divided by 2, it will give me a remainder, and yet I want to divide it completely. So I will look for another number that can now divide into these 3. That is 1 and 3. So the number that can divide into this is 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. So this means I will now multiply the numbers that are on this side, the ones that I was using as the divisors. So I will multiply 2 multiplied by 3. These 2 I multiplied with these 3. So 2 multiplied by 3 is going to give me 6. This means my LCM, which is the least common multiple, is 6. My LCM, which is the least common multiple, is 6. So I will now use it as my denominator here. I use it as my denominator. Now, I want you to follow this keenly, because we will now apply this in all our operations involving fractions. Because I've already found my LCM, which is 6, yes? Since I found my LCM, I check the LCM, I divide it by the denominator of the first fraction. I divide it by the denominator of the first fraction. This means it is 6 divided by 2. 6 divided by 2, 6 divided by 2, divide it somewhere. 6 divided by 2. Yes, 6 divided by 2 is 3. The answer I've gotten, 6 divided by the denominator of the first fraction is 2. We saw 6 divided by 2 is 3. The answer I get, I multiply with the numerator of the same fraction. Numerator of the same fraction. So that is 6 divided by 2 is 3. Then multiply it with this 1. So I multiply here 3. Because I've gotten 6 divided by 2 is 3. 3 times the numerator. So that is 3 times 1 is 3. I write it here. And then this is addition. So I bring the addition sign here. And then I now move to the denominator of the second fraction. The denominator of the second fraction. The denominator of the second fraction, let's check on the board. The denominator of the second fraction is 3. Now, I will now divide the LCM. I divided the denominator of the second fraction. That will be 6 divided by 3. 6 divided by 3. You can divide it somewhere. Divide it. Don't tell me somebody is counting the fingers. 6 divided by 3, you are going to get 2. 6 divided by 3 is 2. So I now multiply that answer with the numerator of the same fraction. The numerator of the same fraction, that is 6 divided by 3 is 2. So I multiply here by 2. That is 1 times 2 is 2. So I write here 2. And then I work it out. It is simple. Now 3 plus 2. 3 plus 2. So when you add 3 plus 2, you are going to get 5. So I'm going to get 5 over the denominator. The denominator remains the same over the denominator, which is 6. And so my answer is going to be 5/6. 5/6, which is the same as 5 over 6. So I will get my answer. My answer is going to be 5 over 6. 5 over 6. And that is how you add. That is basic addition. This is just basic addition. And so I'm going to give you an assignment, and then we prepare ourselves for the next session, for the next lesson, whereby we will now introduce addition of mixed fractions. Addition of mixed fractions. So as per now, I'm going to give an assignment. I'm going to give an assignment, and you ensure that you submit it through the students portal. You submit it through the students portal. We have our pens. We have our pens. You can write this down. You can write this down. You work out these 5 simple questions. These 5 simple questions are the ones that will enable us to build on them as we prepare to work out and solve problems involving addition of mixed fractions. Once again, it was Teacher Alex. I'm happy to have you in class. See you next time. Bye bye for now.